Good morning, fellow humans. I'd say a bit myself shaving, so let's see how that proceeds. Oh boy. Okay, so good morning. Today is Sunday, the 24th of March, 2024. Here we are in Pahrump, Tucky. Maybe I should look this way. Pahrump, Tucky. You choose. This is Department of Career Services, where our goal is very simple: to help you get from where you are to someplace better. I'm going to get something. So this is kind of what happens when you have nicely thin blood. Not a lot of junk in there. So I'll just do that. Oh, my hypocrisy knows no bounds, apparently. Okay, so good morning. Sunday morning, March 24, 2024. And yes, we'll just go with that. Good morning, Wadabebi. Good morning. So big day, Sunday. For me, it's the first day I finished my first class, Trauma and Healing in a Broken World, in my graduate program in pastoral ministry. Yesterday was a good end of the day, 6-hour class where everybody shared their final papers, and I went last. Naturally, some people want to go first. They want to get it. I want to get this over with. The stress and pressure is just too much, and that's okay. That's good. Many very good presentations. Interesting to see what their paper was like. I thought the presentation was a presentation, but it turns out that the presentation was like PowerPoints that people were doing. So I had to pull something together quickly that wasn't a PowerPoint, but kind of to the point. We had good discussion on it, so I'm glad that it was over. I'm going to build on that paper and move forward. But our talk today is about what? What is our meme of today? Copernican Revolution 2. So who was Copernicus? Let's go back and do a quick review. Copernicus. Copernican Revolution. Let's see, where will we start? Beginning with the 1543 publication. So almost 500 years ago, Nicholas Copernicus, who was a Catholic cleric. Well, I don't think he was a priest, but he was a Catholic cleric, wrote a paper. Basically said, it's kind of a mathematical thing. That basically said the sun doesn't go around the earth. The earth is not the center of the universe, which for at least 1,500 years, actually Ptolemy had the earth at the center of the solar system or the universe. That everything revolved around earth, as it says in the Bible, right? So in 1543, Copernicus says, it doesn't. He had a mathematical argument. Now, people had been thinking this doesn't make sense, that the earth is at the center, but the Bible says the earth is at the center, so it has to be at the center because the Bible isn't wrong. So up until 1543, when somebody published something that was against the Bible, even though people got, this doesn't make sense. Yeah, it does make sense if the earth is at the center. No. If the sun is at the center of our solar system and the earth revolves around the sun and these other planets revolve around the sun, that makes sense. But it doesn't make sense that the earth is at the center, even though that's what the Bible says and that's what God said. Then about 70 years later, 67 years later, Galileo Galilei comes along with his telescope, sees the rings of Saturn, and kind of puts a nail in that coffin. And he had problems with the church, et cetera, et cetera. That's not part of the story. But the point is, the Copernican revolution was that there was a story. There are facts. There's the sun, there's the earth, there's planets, there's things that we see out there, these celestial beings. We see them out there, those are facts. And then there's a story to explain the facts. And the story to explain the facts originally was the Bible, at least in Western Europe at this time, say in the year 1000. The Bible explained the facts, or people used the Bible to explain the facts. I don't think the Bible was created to describe the facts, Bible described the facts, but the story around the facts was important for the people at the time of who it was given to. So at the time of Moses, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, dark energy, black holes, time, relativity, those were not important things. So there's no point having a story that talks about things that are not important, because it would become a story that nobody cared about. So you have the facts, and then there's a story around the facts. Well, the challenge is when the story doesn't match the facts. When you learn more about the facts and the story doesn't match the facts, now you got to do something about it. Either the facts are wrong or the story's wrong. And we today are still clinging to the story that was told by Moses, or recorded by Moses, told to Moses, recorded by Moses. That's the story we are sticking to, even though it doesn't fit the facts. Is it possible? That's one reason people are not religious, is because they know this story doesn't fit the facts. The earth is not 10,000 years old. It's not 100,000 years old. It's billions of years old. And the story doesn't fit those facts. There's no way to cram this story in. The story of Genesis, you can't weave that story around the facts on the first day, on the second day, on the third day, etc. You can't fit the facts, that story, into the facts. What you can do is say, you know what, we're going to do what Copernicus did. We're going to move the Earth from here. This is not the Earth. Here's the Earth. Here, everything's doing this. We're going to move it from there to there. And then poof, everything made sense. And that's what science does. That's the scientific method. And I think if religion has any hope, it has to do the same thing. Religion has, the story has to fit the facts. And there is a story to fit the facts. And the story is basically that the creators, so that implies there's one or more. To fit into the Bible would be more, because when you go to John, it's in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay, so you have Father and Son, and then the Holy Spirit's not here somewhere. So the triune God, 3 in 1. So let's just say creators. Okay, you had the creators. And let's say the story is they are non-baryonic. They are spirit only. They have no physical form. And they just simply decided, let's see what it would like to take on physical form. Let's experience physical form. And so poof, the universe was created. A physical reality coming out of nothing by the creators who were non-baryonic, just to experience what it was like. And that fits in the story of why it took 13.8 billion years, because they started out as pure energy, pure spirit, and then became baryonic subatomic particles, and then that expanded and cooled, and that would be kind of cool to experience that, right? How do we experience life vicariously? Through TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, etc. Imagine if we were able to experience how it felt to be in that thing that we're watching. We can see it and we can map ourselves to what we see, but just imagine we could actually feel it. That's what the Creator was able to do, because all Creator is in all things, created the universe out of nothing. To experience it hyper vicariously, meaning you actually experience it. So that explains how the universe came into being. That explains why it's 13.8 billion years, because the Creator is going from subatomic particles to atomic particles to elements to molecules, expanding the speed of light, cooling, clumping, all of the stuff. If you watch any videos on YouTube of the universe, it's quite amazing. And imagine if you could experience that all hyper vicariously. It would take, in our time, 13.8 billion years to be able to, it makes sense. Okay, so every step along the way, as things are getting more complicated, the Creator's hyper vicariously experiencing that. Life comes along, Creator experiences that hyper vicariously. Life gets more complex, Creator experiences that hyper vicariously. We get to living creatures that have brains, experience that hyper vicariously. Then you get to the level of a Homo sapiens sapien. Now it starts getting very interesting. And then at a certain point in the Homo sapiens sapiens, the Creator decides, I want to become incarnate. I want to see what it's like to actually be a man, not live through a man, not experience life hyper vicariously through man, but to be man. And now going back to Genesis, man is made in the image of God. God is pure spirit, non-baryonic. That's the essence of man. So you have all people, all humans are now separated from all animals, having a spirit. Jesus is Creator incarnate, trying to say to these people, if you want to be with the creators, you need to do the following things, because the kingdom of heaven is within you. Just do this. Love God, love the Creator with all your heart and soul and mind, and love one another as I have loved you. Then you can prove yourself worthy to be with us. And so again, changing the story to fit the facts. We all have this sense that there's something inside us in our heart. And so the story would be to, what Jesus is saying is, nurture and share the presence of the Creator within. Boom, period. Story fits the facts. That's the Copernican revolution. How are we doing in time? It's such a runic rhyme, 614. Okay, so that's kind of the essence of the Copernican revolution in religion. We're just simply saying, let's take the story, modify the story to fit the facts. Let's say the facts are correct. The universe was created by a Creator, and the Creator incarnate came to earth, that Jesus was in fact the Creator. And we say that because of the resurrection. And that distinguishes Christianity from all other religions, in that the Creator, God, the Creator, became incarnate. And we know that through the resurrection. And we have good evidence that the resurrection was correct because of the Shroud of Turin. And also, if you step back and say, did it work? Let's try this now. Did it work? Did the story work? Yeah, it did work. Worked quite well for a long period of time. But now, what is that? That was, I bit myself shaving. And because my blood is nice and good, I don't have a lot of garbage in there, a lot of cholesterol in there. When you get a deep cut, it will bleed. It won't clog up. So the Copernican revolution in religion is to say we need the story to fit the facts. We can't ignore the facts and rely upon the story. We can't say the story is right, even though it doesn't fit the facts. We need to take a step back and say, you know what? The story was created, was delivered by Moses for the people at that time. Moses didn't care about or had the ability to understand quantum mechanics, quantum physics, time, cosmology. It wasn't important. What was important was to try to get the message there's a creator. And if we do what he says, our lives will be good. Not just our life, our after living, not after death, after living, that will be better. We will be able to have eternity because the 70, 100 years that we're here is that long in eternity. And so far, 13.8 billion years have passed. We're here for 100 years at the most. What the creator is saying is just do what I ask you to do for the short time that you're there, and all will be good. And we can't do it. And so the Old Testament is time after time after time through the prophets. The creator is trying to deliver the message. Guys, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You have free will. God has no plan for, again, part of the story that's not right. God doesn't have a plan for anyone. He's living vicariously through us. God is within us. The creator is within us. It says that in the Bible. We just have to do two things. Love God with all our heart, soul, love our neighbor, love one another as Jesus, the creator incarnate, has loved us. That's it. That's all we need to do. According to Jesus, we don't need to do all of this other stuff that didn't work. And then another way to fit the story with the facts is John 3:16. The message has nothing to do with dying for sins. What the message has to do with is the creator came down to be incarnate to try to deliver the message that if you do what he says, you'll have everlasting life. That's what he said. He didn't say anything in chapter 3, has nothing to do whatsoever with dying for people's sins. What it has to do with is the creator became incarnate to deliver the message because you're not getting it. And who was he talking to? One of the Pharisees. He was talking to a teacher of Israel saying, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. Do what I tell you to do, and everything, you'll have everlasting life. You need to be reborn. Forget about all of that stuff that you believe. You need to be reborn, new story, but what's out there today. Okay, so I want to conclude with this. If you want to follow what the creator says, you just do the red letter. You just do what Jesus said. He had it boiled down to simple things for simple people. You didn't need a teacher. You needed somebody just to tell it to you and then go do it. That's how simple it is. However, if you want to understand the Bible, now you need a pastor. Now you need somebody who's going to tell you, try to help you understand the pre-Copernican view of how this story makes sense. Because if you're a non-believer, the story doesn't make sense because it doesn't fit the facts. So now you need a pastor to kind of explain, well, here's how to make the story make sense. You got to do all of this and you have to study it all the time. You have to brainwash yourself to believe it's true versus what Jesus said, Beatitudes, the New Testament, Gospels, not the New Testament, the Gospel part of the New Testament is just do that, which he even boils down to two things. Love God with all your heart. Love one another as I have loved you. That's it. And then you'll have everlasting life. But the other stuff came along because of control and power over people, right? People need somebody to be the boss. And so Constantine, big player in the Bible game, big player in the religion game. Okay, we're going to make this religion legal, but we have to have structure. We have to do this. We have to do that. And an organization was created, an institution was created of the Christian religion. And then that worked, but it became corrupt, and then it splintered off into Protestantism, right? But once again, it's all trying to explain this pre-Copernican revolution view of how to fit the story around the facts when the story and the facts don't coexist together. They don't fit together. Instead of saying, let's change the story to fit the facts, understanding that the original story was created for people who didn't need to know about things that people today need to know about to understand. And also, if you go back to Jesus, you don't need a pastor. You don't need somebody, you don't need to go to church on Sunday. You don't need to do that. Yes, fellowship with other people, worship with other people, or singing with other people, et cetera, et cetera. That is important. But going there, having somebody try to convince you about how this story that doesn't fit the facts is correct is not right. And so my hunch would be way back in the old days, they had very convoluted classes about how to explain how it looks like Mars goes backwards at a particular point in the year in the pre-Copernican, the Ptolemaic solar system, the Ptolemaic universe where the Earth is at the center. You had to have a lot of detailed explanations and memorize this stuff and understand that it got very complicated to understand the universe. So you had to go to school. But any kid can understand sun, Earth, planets revolve around the sun. You don't need, once you learn it from an expert, you don't need to get into really the mathematics of understanding that. But if you want to try to understand how the Earth is at the center and everything revolves around the Earth, and to kind of explain how it looks like how Mars is able to go backwards and then forwards or do this little loop, how Mars is able to do that, it gets to be very complex, and you need to have really tight, a lot of different arguments to try to have it continue to make sense. But anyway, Copernican revolution number 2, very important for moving forward. And the point would be we need in order for religion to become an important part of the life of everyday people, the story must fit the facts. Currently, the story does not fit the facts. It doesn't fit the facts because the story was created for different people, different time, different place. And now we know more, so the story needs to evolve to fit the facts. And there is a way that it does evolve to fit the facts. Creator, pure energy, pure spirit becomes wants to become baryonic, wants to become physical, experience that. That explains the 13.8 billion years. That explains how man is made in the image of God. So we have a transcendent soul. Something happens after we die. We're not just atoms in the void. And all we have to do to continue to the next step is 2 things. Love God with all your heart and soul. Love each one another as I have loved you. And then nurture and share the spirit of the Creator within you, meaning do number 1 and number 2 in your daily life. Don't pursue consumerism. Do that. And once you die, then you'll go to the next stage, which then also ties in Hinduism, Buddhism, ties in everything else, the truths that they have, Shinto, all of these things get tied in on the other end. Okay, so that's it for today, 625, long one. And thank you for being there. This is my apologies that it has been so long. I will shorten it down, narrow it down. And for our students, if you watched all the way to the end, good for you. If you tell me the secret word that I said a little bit earlier, you will get a free Starbucks card, a $5 Starbucks card. So, in Watabevy, are you planning your trip? I think you should send a text message to your cousins, one of your cousins, saying you're going to be there for Easter. And let's find out about Lucy. And with that, I will say, and cut.